The world of Syria burned under a red sky. Towers that once shone with silver light now cracked apart. Smoke and fire rose high enough to darken the stars. The capital city trembled as machines of war rolled through its streets. The sound of metal feet and energy blasts echoed for miles. The great palace, home of the Syrian queen, stood at the edge of ruin. In the middle of that chaos, a human soldier named Ryan Hale woke up to pain. His ship had crashed through the upper atmosphere, hit the palace wall and torn itself apart. His armor was dented, his leg was bleeding, and his helmet screen flickered with warnings. The radio was dead. His squad was gone. He was alone on an alien world, caught in a war that was not his own. Ryan pushed himself up and looked around. He saw the alien city burning, the same city he had been ordered to avoid. His mission had been to rescue stranded diplomats, not get involved in the Syrian war. But now, standing among broken walls, he could hear the cries of people fighting for their lives. He gritted his teeth and began to move. He walked through the ruins and saw Syrian soldiers falling back against the advancing enemy. The enemy drones moved like living shadows, black and silver with red eyes that glowed through the smoke. They fired without emotion. They tore through stone and armor alike. Ryan saw a group of Syrian guards holding a defense line at the palace gates. And above them, standing tall even in the chaos, was a figure in shining blue armor. It was Queen Alira, ruler of Syria. She was not hiding behind her soldiers. She was leading them. Her long white cloak was scorched, and her armor was scratched, but she fought with calm strength. A glowing blade was in her hand, cutting through the metal drones that came too close. Her voice carried across the battlefield as she ordered her troops to protect the wounded. Ryan had never seen anything like her. The aliens he had met before were cold and distant, but she fought with fire and loyalty. He had no idea who she was yet, but something inside him refused to turn away. He tightened his gloves and stepped forward. Ryan found a fallen Syrian rifle and checked its power cell. It was compatible with his armor, so he linked it to his targeting system. The moment another drone appeared on the roof, he took it down with a clean shot. Then another, and another. The Syrian soldiers turned in surprise, seeing a human fighting beside them. "Who is that?" one guard shouted. "A human," another replied. "Where did he come from?" Ryan didn't answer. He focused on his aim. The drones came in waves, their red eyes glowing like a storm. He moved fast, using cover, switching positions and drawing their fire so the Syrians could regroup. His training kicked in. His mind became calm. When a group of drones broke through the side gate, heading straight for the queen, Ryan ran toward them. His rifle overheated halfway, so he dropped it and drew his sidearm. The sound of plasma fire filled the air as he shot through the narrow hall leading to the throne tower. He reached the queen just as one of the drones aimed its cannon at her. He dove forward, knocking her down as the blast hit the wall behind them. The shockwave threw dust and sparks everywhere. Ryan rolled to his feet, drew his combat knife, and struck the drone's core before it could fire again. The machine exploded in a burst of smoke and metal fragments. Queen Alira rose quickly, her blade still glowing. She looked at the strange armored human standing before her. For a brief moment, their eyes met. His armor was cracked, his visor half shattered, but his eyes were sharp and steady. "You are human," she said, her voice firm even in the chaos. Ryan nodded. "You could use some help," she almost smiled. "Then fight with me, human soldier." They stood back to back as more drones entered the hall. She fought with swift, elegant moves, her blade leaving trails of blue light. Ryan fought with precision and grit, using explosives, grenades, and sheer force. Together, they held the line as the palace shook around them. Hours passed like minutes. The battle spread across the city, but the drones were not endless. When the last one fell, silence filled the hall again. Smoke drifted through broken windows. The floor was covered in burned metal. Ryan leaned against a pillar, catching his breath. His armor was nearly destroyed, and his systems were failing. Queen Alira turned to him, lowering her weapon. "You have saved us," she said quietly. "Who sent you?" "No one," Ryan replied. "I was just passing through." She looked at him for a long moment, studying his calm expression. "You could have fled. Why did you stay?" He thought about it for a second. "Because I don't like watching people die when I can help stop it." That simple answer made her pause. Syrians were known for their strict honor and logic, but there was something in this human's voice that felt different, raw, unplanned, and brave. Alira signaled her guards to stand down. "Then, human, you will be remembered." Ryan shook his head. "No need for that. Just make sure your people survive." Before she could respond, his armor alarm began to beep. His life support was failing. He took off his helmet and gave her a faint, tired smile. "Looks like my ride is gone. I'll find another way off your planet." Alira stepped forward. "We can help you. Stay until your strength returns." But Ryan looked toward the smoke-covered horizon. Somewhere out there, he knew other humans were still fighting. He didn't belong here, not in this royal world. "You have soldiers who need you more," he said. "You'll be fine." He reached into his chest pocket and pulled out a small metal tag. His name and rank were carved into it. "If anyone asks who saved your palace," he said softly, "tell them a soldier just did his job." Before she could stop him, Ryan turned and walked into the ruins beyond the palace gates. The night swallowed him as the fires faded behind him. Alira stood there holding his dog tag in her hand. The metal was warm from his touch. Around her, the surviving soldiers began to cheer. The enemy was retreating. The war was turning. But her eyes stayed on the path where he had gone. Days later, the Syrian scouts searched for the human soldier but found no trace. No body, no signal, no ship. It was as if he had vanished from the face of the galaxy. The Queen kept his dog tag beside her throne as a silent promise. Whenever someone asked about it, she would say, "It belongs to the one who fought for us when no one else would." The story of the human who saved the Syrian queen spread across systems. Some said he was a lost soldier. Others claimed he was a ghost from Earth's war past. But the Queen knew better. He was real. She had seen the fire in his eyes, the strength in his voice, the will to fight without reward, and deep inside her heart, she knew that if he was still alive somewhere among the stars, fate would bring him back again, far beyond Syria. In the cold reaches of space, Ryan Hale's ship drifted in silence. He had managed to repair part of it and escape the dying planet. His body was weak, but his mind stayed sharp. He thought of the Queen, the calm courage in her face, the way she had fought without fear. He didn't even know her name then, but he remembered her voice. He looked at the stars and whispered, "You'll be fine out there, Queen." Then he closed his eyes and set a course toward deep space. The galaxy moved on, but legends never stayed quiet for long. Somewhere in the whispers of trade routes and the records of soldiers, the name Ryan Hale began to appear again, connected to missions where impossible odds were beaten by human will. And on Syria, Queen Alira ruled with wisdom and strength, holding a small metal tag that reminded her of a man who had once fallen from the sky, fought for her people, and vanished like a star fading into the dark. 5 years had passed since the fall of Syria's capital. The war that once burned across the stars had ended, but its scars remained deep in every world. The Syrian Empire, once proud and strong, had been forced to rebuild from ashes. Its cities rose again, one tower at a time, but the memory of that great battle never faded. In the grand palace of Lethra Prime, Queen Alira ruled with calm power. Her long silver robe flowed like liquid light as she walked through the marble halls. Around her, holograms displayed reports from distant colonies, trade ships, and border patrols. Her advisors spoke of progress, of peace returning, but her mind often drifted somewhere else, toward the memory of a human soldier who had vanished into smoke and silence. She still kept the small metal tag he had given her. It lay inside a crystal box on her desk beside the royal seal. Every time she looked at it, she remembered his voice. Just a soldier doing his job. The Syrians had searched the nearby systems for any trace of him. None was ever found. Some said he died in space. Others said humans had taken him back to their own worlds. But Alira knew in her heart that he was alive. Humans were stubborn creatures, born to survive even when logic said they could not. Queen Alira had become stronger since that day. The war had taught her how fragile peace could be. She turned her empire from pride to unity. She opened borders, built schools, and replaced fear with purpose. Under her rule, Syria began to shine again. Still, late at night when the stars glowed above her balcony, she often stood alone and whispered to the darkness, "Where did you go, Ryan Hale?" Far across the galaxy, Ryan Hale was not dead. He had survived the fall of Syria, repaired what was left of his ship, and escaped into deep space. For months, he drifted from one system to another, working as a cargo guard or engineer, sometimes helping colonists defend against pirates. He had no home, no rank, and no orders. The war had ended, and so had his purpose as a soldier. But he could never forget the day he met the Syrian queen. Sometimes, When he closed his eyes, he saw her standing against fire and ruin, her blue armor glowing like a star. He told himself it was just memory, nothing more. Yet part of him wanted to see that look again. The courage, the calm, the way she refused to run. Ryan tried to disappear from the galaxy's eyes. He took jobs under false names, avoided military records, and stayed off official channels. He didn't want to be a hero. He wanted to live quietly. But humans had a way of drawing attention no matter where they went. In the border sector of Tryon, Ryan's reputation began to grow. Traders whispered about a lone human who stopped pirate fleets with clever traps. Colonists told stories of a man who never stayed long enough to take credit. His name became a rumor. Some called him the Ghost of Syria. Others called him the Starwalker. He ignored the stories and kept moving. He repaired ships, guided lost freighters through asteroid fields, and saved miners from collapsing tunnels. But at night, when he looked out from the cockpit of his old ship, he still saw the same face. The Queen who had looked at him not as an alien, but as an equal. One day, while traveling through the edge of Syrian territory, Ryan heard something that made him pause. At a small station, a group of Syrian traders were talking about trouble in their capital. He sat quietly in the corner of the station's diner listening. "The rebels are growing stronger," one of them said. "They stole ships from the outer yards. The Queen refuses to strike first. She wants peace." "She always wants peace," another replied, shaking his head. "But peace cannot last if the shadows keep rising." Ryan frowned. The word rebel stirred something in him. He had heard rumors of a rogue Syrian commander who refused to accept peace. These rebels were building war machines, gathering human weapons, and spreading chaos. "Who leads them?" Ryan asked, pretending to be just another traveler. The traders looked at him with surprise. "You are human." "Why do you care?" one asked. Ryan shrugged. "Just curious. I fought in a few wars." "You hear things?" The older trader leaned closer. "They say their leader is no Syrian. They say he is human too, a mercenary who betrayed both sides during the war. He calls himself Commander Varric." Ryan's eyes darkened. He knew that name. Varric had been a human officer once, brilliant but ruthless. He had sold weapons to anyone who paid. During the last years of the war, he had disappeared after turning against his own men. Now he was leading a Syrian rebellion. Ryan left the station that same night. His ship's engines roared to life as he set a new course, straight toward Syrian space. He told himself it was just to gather information. But deep down, he knew he was heading back to the one place he had promised himself never to return. Meanwhile, in the royal city, Queen Alira's advisors grew restless. Reports of rebel attacks arrived daily. Supply lines were cut. Border colonies were under siege. The council demanded that she send the full army, but Alira hesitated. "We will not start another war," she said during the meeting. Her voice was firm, but her heart was heavy. "If we act with fear, the galaxy will burn again." Her generals looked uneasy. "Your Majesty, the rebels will not stop with words. They are led by someone dangerous, someone who knows both Syrian and human tactics." Alira turned toward the window. The stars shimmered like cold fire. "Then we will prepare quietly," she said. "We will defend, not destroy." But even she could feel the storm building. 2 weeks later, her scouts reported something unusual. A lone ship had crossed into Syrian territory without identification. It moved fast, using human technology but with Syrian signal patterns. The guards tried to hail it, but it gave no answer. In the palace command center, Alira watched the radar display. The unknown ship was approaching Lethra Prime. "Whoever it is," said her advisor, "they are either very brave or very foolish." Alira stood still. Her heart told her something impossible. The pattern of that ship's movement, the way it shifted through defense zones, the direct path to her planet, it felt familiar. "Open the landing bay," she ordered. "Let it through." Her guards protested, but she raised her hand. "If it is danger, I will face it myself." Hours later, as night settled over the capital, the small ship descended onto the royal platform. The engines cooled with a low hum. Soldiers surrounded it, weapons ready. The air shimmered as the ramp opened. A tall man in worn black armor stepped out. His helmet was scratched. His left shoulder carried the symbol of Earth's old defense force. He moved slowly, calmly, as if the army in front of him did not worry him at all. Queen Alira stepped forward, her guards tense at her sides. Her silver cloak flowed behind her as she looked at the stranger. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The flames of the landing lights reflected in his cracked visor. Then he reached up and removed his helmet. The face beneath was older, marked by time and scars. But the eyes, the same eyes she had seen 5 years ago in the palace ruins, were the same. It was Ryan Hale. The Queen's breath caught, though she kept her voice calm. "You," she whispered. "You were gone." Ryan gave a small nod. "I was, but I heard you might need help again." The guards looked at each other in disbelief. The Queen took one slow step closer. "Why return now after all this time?" "Because," Ryan said, his voice steady, "the man leading your rebels is human. And if he's the one I think he is, then this fight belongs to me too." Alira's eyes softened. She wanted to ask 1,000 questions. Where he had been, how he had survived, why he came back. But duty came first. The galaxy was changing again and war was close. "Then come inside," she said quietly. "We have much to talk about." As Ryan followed her through the palace gates, the same halls he had once fought to defend, memories came rushing back. The smell of burnt metal, the echo of old battles, and the voice of the Queen who had stood beside him 5 years ago. He had disappeared into the stars once before. But this time he had come back for more than survival. He had come back for redemption. And in the silent glow of the palace lights, Queen Alira knew that the story of the human soldier who saved her world was not over. It had only just begun again. The throne room of Lethra Prime was vast and filled with light. Crystal panels lined the walls, displaying the galaxies beyond, while the ceiling arched high like the inside of a great ship. Soldiers and advisors usually filled the hall during meetings, but today, it was almost empty. The soft hum of energy fields and the faint glow of the floor lights were the only sounds. Queen Alira stood at the center of the room, her hands resting lightly on the throne. Her silver armor gleamed under the lights, polished and intact, a symbol of the Empire's renewal. Yet her mind was restless. Reports of rebel movements reached her every hour, and the danger seemed closer than ever. But her thoughts kept drifting back to the man who had disappeared into smoke and fire 5 years ago. Then the massive doors at the end of the hall slid open with a quiet hiss. Guards raised their weapons and advisors stiffened. But when a tall figure walked in, they froze. He moved calmly, with the confidence of someone who had faced death more than once. Ryan Hale had returned. He was older, scarred from battles fought across space, and his armor carried dents and scratches from unknown skirmishes. Yet his presence filled the room with quiet authority. His eyes scanned the hall, and finally they rested on the Queen. Alira's breath caught. For a moment she did not speak. He had returned exactly as she had imagined, yet more real than any memory. His gaze met hers, steady and unwavering. "You're alive," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I am," Ryan replied. His voice carried weight, calm and precise, like a soldier who had seen too much but still believed in what was right. "And I came because your enemies are dangerous. More dangerous than before." Alira gestured for her guards to lower their weapons. She stepped forward, moving closer. "I had thought you gone forever." "Why return now?" Ryan placed his hands behind his back and spoke clearly. "Because the man leading your rebels is human. He knows your empire and my people. He knows the weaknesses we might not even see. His name is Varric, and he has plans that could destroy everything we built." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "I know of him. The Council fears him. I have seen reports of his attacks. But why help me now? You could remain a ghost, safe in the stars." Ryan's lips curled into a faint smile. "Because someone has to stop him. I could not ignore what he is doing. And I cannot ignore the debt I owe you, Queen Alira. You did not ask for help that day, yet I could not turn away. The same choice stands now." Alira studied him for a long moment. His words were simple, but the truth behind them carried power. She had always known humans were stubborn, but she had never seen such loyalty. Slowly, she nodded. "Then tell me your plan," she said. Ryan moved toward the holographic map in the center of the room. With a wave of his hand, star systems, fleet movements, and rebel outposts appeared in three-dimensional projection. He pointed to clusters of ships at the borders. "These are their positions," he said. "Varric has been moving quickly, stealing ships and weapons from human settlements. He knows Syria is cautious, and he is taking advantage. We cannot fight him in open space yet. He will retreat and hide, then strike again with greater strength." Alira listened carefully, following his finger as it traced paths between systems. "We cannot send our fleets blindly. We need precision, she said. Ryan nodded. Exactly. That is where human strategy comes in. I have tracked Varric before. I know his tendencies, his favorite tactics, even how he thinks. We will strike before he knows we are here. But we must combine our forces, Syrian discipline with human unpredictability. Alira's advisors whispered among themselves, impressed by the human's knowledge. A few were skeptical, but Alira raised a hand, silencing them. Do you believe we can do this? She asked Ryan. I do, he said. But only if we trust each other. I need access to your fleets, your intelligence, and your best pilots. And I need you to trust that I will not lead you into danger recklessly. I have fought beside your people once. I will do it again, carefully. Alira took a deep breath. Then you will have my trust, Ryan Hale, and my people will follow your lead. But first tell me why you disappeared before. Why did you vanish into the stars instead of staying with us? Ryan paused, looking at the vast room, at the lights reflecting off the walls, and finally at the Queen. I had no reason to stay. My mission was done. I saved you and I survived. But I had no place among your people. I was human, alone, and needed to find my own way. I could not let the Empire become mine to guide. That is your duty, not mine. Alira's eyes softened. And now? Now, he said, I fight for what is right. I fight because Varric will not stop. I fight because I cannot let anyone destroy your people again. And I fight because I promised myself that if I ever had the chance to help you again, I would not run away. The room was silent. Advisors looked at each other, seeing the determination in his eyes. Guards shifted uneasily, sensing that this human was not ordinary. Alira walked closer. Then we fight together, Ryan Hale. But this will not be easy. Varric is clever and ruthless. He will expect every move we make. Ryan nodded. I know. That is why we will make him think we are weaker than we are. He underestimates humans. He underestimates Syrians. Together, he will find no weakness left. A young officer stepped forward, pointing to the holographic map. Your Majesty, if we follow this plan, our forces may face heavy losses. Varric's fleet is strong and his mercenaries are skilled. Are you certain this is wise? Alira's voice rang like steel. We cannot hide behind caution any longer. The galaxy will not wait for fear. We act now with intelligence and precision. Ryan Hale has seen this before. He knows what must be done. Ryan moved closer to the map, his hand sweeping across clusters of ships. We will start small, he explained. We strike at their supply lines first. Then we cut off communications. Their leader depends on speed and fear. If we control those, we control him. The final strike will be surgical. We win without unnecessary loss, Alira studied him, then nodded. And if we fail? Ryan's expression remained calm. We will not fail. Humans do not give up, and neither do Syrians. Together, we will overcome. The Queen felt a flicker of hope she had not felt in years. This human who had appeared in her throne room unannounced brought more than plans. He brought courage, and courage was contagious. Very well, Alira said. Prepare the fleets. Send messages to our allies. And Ryan, she hesitated, her voice softening. I hope you stay this time. We will need you, not just your strategy, but your presence. Ryan gave a small smile. I intend to stay. The war is not over, and neither am I. The Queen turned, motioning to the command center. Then let us begin. Hours passed as Ryan coordinated with Syrian generals. He analyzed fleet strengths, supply schedules, and communication lines. His mind worked like a machine, but his decisions carried human instinct. Every movement, every adjustment was precise. He pushed the Syrians to think differently, combining alien technology with human improvisation. By the end of the day, the plan was ready. The fleets would move in coordinated strikes across multiple systems, drawing Varric's forces into traps. Syrian pilots trained in new patterns. Human engineers adapted drones for surprise attacks, and the palace prepared for communication interception. Alira watched from the balcony as Ryan walked the corridors, checking on every detail, speaking with soldiers and officers alike. His calm authority inspired trust. Even the most skeptical generals began to see the strength he brought. Finally, when night fell over Lethra Prime, the Queen stepped into the empty throne room once more. Ryan joined her. The lights reflected off his armor, and for a moment they stood silently, two warriors preparing for the storm to come. Do you ever doubt yourself? She asked quietly. Ryan shook his head. Doubt is for those who have not seen what is possible. I have seen courage. I have seen fear. and I have seen what humans and Syrians can do together. That is enough for me. Alira smiled faintly. Then may the galaxy remember that courage is not limited to one species. Ryan looked at the stars through the crystal walls. It never is, and now it will shine again. The Queen and the human soldier stood together, ready to face the coming war. The galaxy beyond was uncertain, but one truth remained. The human who had saved the Syrian queen once was back, and this time he would not disappear. And so the stage was set for battle. The ghost of the past had returned to the palace, bringing hope, strategy, and courage to a queen who had never stopped waiting. The day of the battle arrived. The skies above Lethra Prime were filled with hundreds of ships, both Syrian and human-modified vessels moving in careful formation. Below, the planet's surface trembled with the anticipation of what was to come. Rebels led by the human warlord Varric had amassed a fleet designed to strike quickly and vanish. They thought they could outsmart the Queen and her allies, but they had not counted on Ryan Hale. Ryan stood in the central command deck, holographic displays lighting his face. Beside him, Queen Alira observed the fleets with calm precision. She had studied his strategies, followed his advice, and now she trusted him completely. Together, they were ready to turn the tide. "Your Majesty," Ryan said, pointing to the map, "Varric will split his forces into 3 groups. He expects us to defend in a straight line, so he can outmaneuver us. Instead, we will set traps that force him to fight in the open, where we have the advantage." Alira nodded, her eyes reflecting determination. "We have prepared every fleet, every pilot, every weapon. Let us see if he can match our preparation." The fleets moved in silence, sleek ships cutting through the black of space like sharks through water. Ryan coordinated the human-modified fighters, communicating directly with Syrian captains and engineers. Every ship followed patterns designed to confuse the enemy, to force them into zones where Ryan had already placed energy nets and drone ambushes. When the first wave of rebel ships appeared on the scanners, Ryan's voice rang through the command deck. "Initiate Trap 1. Let them think they have the advantage." Alira watched closely as the rebels advanced. Varric's ships moved swiftly, confident in their speed and numbers. But the moment they entered the designated corridor, hidden energy, nets activated, slowing their ships and scrambling their sensors. Syrian fighters, moving unpredictably under Ryan's guidance, attacked from multiple directions. The rebels were taken by surprise. Varric cursed, realizing too late that he had underestimated human strategy combined with Syrian discipline. He adjusted his fleet, trying to escape, but Ryan had anticipated every movement. Drones swarmed, disabling engines and cutting off retreat paths. One by one, the rebel ships fell into the traps. Alira's voice came over the comms to the Syrian fleet. "Hold formation and press the attack. Follow Ryan's lead." The Queen herself took control of a small squadron, her blade glowing with energy as she guided her pilots in a deadly dance through enemy fire. Her movements inspired those around her. Ryan fought alongside her, directing fighters, taking down ships with precision strikes and repairing damaged drones in real time. The synergy between human ingenuity and Syrian discipline created a force that seemed unstoppable. Hours passed. The battle stretched across multiple sectors, each engagement calculated, each move predicted. Rebels began to retreat, realizing their plans were failing. Varric, furious, tried a desperate move. He gathered his remaining ships for a direct strike at the palace orbit, hoping to destroy the command center and force the Queen into surrender. Ryan anticipated this too. "Queen Alira," he said over the comms. "He will try a direct strike. We need a final trap." Alira nodded. "Then let us set it." They coordinated the Syrian and human-modified fleets into a precise formation. Ryan guided the fastest ships to bait Varric's fleet, drawing them into a narrow corridor where energy nets, mines, and hidden turrets awaited. The corridor was like a canyon in space, impossible to escape once entered. As expected, Varric took the bait. His fleet accelerated, thinking they could strike the command center and force victory. But the moment they entered the corridor, the traps activated. Mines detonated around the lead ships, energy nets slowed their engines, and drones swarmed from every side. Varric's voice came over the comms, shouting orders, but it was too late. His fleet was trapped, scattered, and outmaneuvered. The humans and Syrians worked seamlessly, striking at weak points, disabling weapons and engines without unnecessary destruction. Ryan's eyes focused on Varric's flagship. He knew the human leader would not survive without a personal duel. Ryan piloted his own ship closer, weaving through enemy fire with precision. Varric saw him approaching, anger and surprise flickering in his eyes. "You again," Varric hissed. "You cannot stop me." "I already have," Ryan replied, steady and calm. "And I will end this today." Their ships collided in a deadly dance above the planet. Ryan used every trick he had learned, maneuvering through zero gravity, exploiting blind spots and using small drones to distract the flagship's systems. Finally, he disabled the main engines and forced the ship to drift in a controlled spin. Varric tried to escape, but Ryan boarded the vessel with a small team of Syrian elite soldiers. Inside the flagship, the duel was intense. Ryan and Varric faced each other in a narrow corridor, weapons drawn. Sparks flew as energy blades clashed, echoing through the hull. Varric was fast, skilled, and ruthless, but Ryan fought with experience, instinct, and precision. Every strike was measured, every movement calculated. The fight ended when Ryan managed to disarm Varric and trap him in a containment cell. The remaining rebel forces, seeing their leader captured, surrendered or fled. The battle was over. Alira's voice came over the comms, filled with relief. "All units report victory confirmed." Ryan exhaled, leaning against the wall of the command center. He was tired, bruised, and exhausted, but alive. The Syrian and human fleets had won together, not by chance, but by courage, strategy, and trust. Queen Alira entered the command center, her eyes reflecting pride and relief. She looked at Ryan, her expression softening. "You did it," she said simply. "We did it," Ryan corrected, smiling faintly. "Together." The Queen nodded, her gaze traveling over the surviving soldiers and pilots. "You have given us more than victory. You have shown my people that courage knows no boundaries. Humans and Syrians together can face anything." Ryan looked at the battle-scarred fleet visible through the windows. Fires were still being extinguished, but the stars above reflected peace. "They fought well," he said. "Your people are strong. I only helped guide them." Alira approached him, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "You guided more than fleets. You guided hope, and you stayed when others would have run. That is why we will not forget you." Ryan felt a warmth in her words that he had not expected. After years of drifting across the stars, after battles fought alone and in silence, he realized he had finally found a place where he belonged, not just as a soldier, but as a partner in something greater. Outside the palace, citizens celebrated the end of the rebellion. Lights shone across Lithra Prime, marking victory and survival. News broadcasts told of the mysterious human who had returned to help the Syrian queen. Stories spread across the galaxy about courage, strategy, and unity. Ryan, standing beside Alira on the palace balcony, watched the celebrations with quiet satisfaction. He did not seek fame or glory. He only wanted to ensure that those who fought alongside him survived and thrived. Alira turned to him, her eyes reflecting the stars. "Do you ever regret disappearing before?" she asked quietly. "No," Ryan said. "I had to find my path. But I am glad I came back when it mattered most." The Queen smiled. "Then stay if you wish. Your place is no longer in the shadows. It is here, with those who trust you." Ryan looked at the bright city below, the thriving empire he had helped protect, and then at Alira. For the first time in years, he felt complete. He had chosen to fight for what was right, and in doing so he had found a home, not just among the stars, but beside a queen who valued courage above all else. The battle was won, but the galaxy would always need protectors. Ryan Hale and Queen Alira had shown that humans and Syrians together could face impossible odds and emerge victorious. And as long as they stood side by side, the light of hope would shine across every system. For now, the fires of war had ended. The sky was calm, and the people celebrated their freedom. Ryan and Alira stood silently, watching the stars, knowing that the next challenge would come, but confident that together, they could face anything. The palace of Lethra Prime had returned to its full glory. After the defeat of the rebels, the city sparkled with lights that reflected off the crystal towers. Streets were filled with celebration, and citizens cheered for the queen who had led them through war, and for the hero who had returned when hope seemed dim. Inside the throne room, Queen Alira sat quietly. The room was vast and elegant, filled with light from the crystal walls that overlooked the capital. Her silver armor was polished and ceremonial, symbolizing victory and resilience. Though she smiled at the celebrations outside, her thoughts were with the one person who had changed everything, Ryan Hale, the human soldier who had saved her and disappeared, only to return when the galaxy needed him most. Today, the throne room was empty except for her and the few advisors who remained to help manage post-battle reports. The doors at the far end opened suddenly, catching her attention. A hush fell over the room as a familiar figure walked in, Ryan Hale. He moved with the calm confidence of a man who had faced countless dangers. His armor was still battle-worn, scars from the rebellion etched into metal and flesh alike, but his eyes, steady and sharp, carried the same determination she remembered from 5 years ago. Alira rose slowly from her throne. Her heart raced, though she kept her expression controlled. "You came," she said softly. Ryan nodded. "I promised I would," he said. "I could not let the galaxy fall while Varric remained free, and I could not leave when there was a chance to help you again." She studied him carefully. Time had changed him, but it had not diminished the presence that had drawn her attention years before. She stepped closer, leaving her guards at a respectful distance. "You have done more than I could ever ask, Ryan Hale. You saved my people twice, and yet you never sought recognition." Ryan shrugged. "Recognition is for those who stay to rule. I fight to survive and to help when it matters. That is enough for me." Alira's eyes softened. She looked at the small metal tag he had once left behind, now held carefully in her hands. It had been 5 years and she had kept it close as a reminder of courage and trust. Now she handed it back to him. "You kept this," he said, surprised. "I did," she replied. "It reminded me that some people are worth waiting for." Ryan took the tag and held it in his hand. The memories of the past, the fires of Syria, the chaos of battle, they all returned in an instant. But now he was here, standing not in ruins but in a palace restored, beside a queen who had waited for him without hesitation. The silence between them was comfortable. It was a silence filled with respect, trust, and understanding. After so many years apart, the human who had vanished and the queen he had saved now stood together, finally in a moment of peace. Alira spoke first. "The galaxy will rebuild from this, but the work is never done. Will you stay, Ryan Hale? Not just as a soldier, but as someone who can help shape the future." Ryan looked at her, then at the halls of the palace, at the city beyond, alive with light and celebration. He thought of all the systems he had visited, the battles he had fought, and the people he had helped. He realized that this place, this queen, and these people were the reason he had survived. He nodded. "Yes," he said simply. "I will stay." Alira smiled. "Then you will not be alone in this world, and the galaxy will know that courage is not limited by species. Humans and Syrians can face anything together." Ryan's lips curved into a small, tired smile. "That is the plan," he said. For a moment they just stood there, two beings from different worlds, bound by trust and shared history. Outside the city celebrated, but inside the throne room there was only calm. It was a calm born from survival, hope, and the knowledge that they had fought and won together. Alira gestured toward the view of the city. "Look at them," she said softly. "All these people, alive because of choices made long before they were born. And one human who could have disappeared forever chose to stay when it mattered most." Ryan followed her gaze. The lights of the city sparkled like stars brought to the ground. He thought of the battles, the sacrifices, and the quiet moments of doubt he had faced in the years after he disappeared. But all of it led to this moment, standing beside the queen who had inspired him to act, to fight, and to return. "Queen Alira," he said, turning to her, "you have built more than an empire. You have built courage, hope, and unity. I am honored to fight by your side, not for glory, but for the people who believe in something bigger than themselves." Alira stepped closer, reaching out and touching his hand. "And I am honored to know that someone like you exists. A human who does not just fight but inspires. A friend who never gives up." Ryan felt a warmth he had not known in years. War had taught him fear, loss, and survival. But it had also taught him loyalty, trust, and the value of courage. Now, in this moment, he understood what he had been searching for. It was not fame, not recognition, not medals. It was a place where he could stand not just as a soldier, but as a human who had chosen to do what was right. Alira smiled, then gestured toward the throne. "Come, Ryan, sit with me. Today we celebrate not just victory but the promise of the future. You belong here now, not in the shadows of the galaxy, but at the side of those who trust you." Ryan hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward and sat beside the queen. The throne room felt different now, filled not with tension or alarms but with quiet triumph and trust. The human and the queen, once separated by war and distance, now shared a bond that no battle could break. Outside, the city continued to celebrate, unaware of the quiet significance of the throne room. Leaders, citizens, and soldiers all rejoiced, but the true victory was in the trust and understanding between two unlikely allies. A human who had risked everything to save an alien queen, and a queen who had never stopped waiting for him. Alira looked at Ryan and spoke softly. "The galaxy will always need protectors. And now we have shown that courage is stronger than fear, that unity is stronger than division, and that hope is stronger than despair." Ryan nodded. "And humans will always rise to the challenge. I am glad to stand with you and your people now and in the years to come." The queen placed her hand on his shoulder, a simple gesture of respect, trust, and recognition. It symbolized the bond they had forged through fire, war, and loyalty. They had faced impossible odds together, and they had emerged victorious. In that moment, the throne room was quiet, yet it was filled with meaning. The human who had vanished into smoke and fire 5 years ago had returned, not as a ghost, not as a stranger, but as a hero, a friend, and a partner in the hope of the galaxy. Ryan looked at the city outside, then at the stars beyond. The battles were over for now, but the galaxy would always need those willing to act, to fight and to protect, and he had found his place among them. Alira spoke once more, her voice carrying the weight of victory and trust. "You are home, Ryan Hale. The Empire, the people, and I, we trust you. Together we will face whatever the future brings." Ryan smiled. "Then let the future come. We are ready." For the first time in years, both of them felt peace. The fires of war had been extinguished, the galaxy had witnessed courage, and the bonds between species had proven stronger than any threat. The human who had saved the queen and disappeared had returned. And this time he would not leave. He would stand beside her, beside her people, and beside the hope that stretched across the stars. As the twin moons rose over Lethra Prime, the throne room glowed with light. The human and the queen sat together, two warriors who had survived the impossible, ready to guide the galaxy toward a future where courage, trust, and unity would always prevail. The story of Ryan Hale and Queen Alira was no longer one of battles alone. It was now a story of hope, loyalty, and the strength found when the right people come together at the right time. And as the stars shone above, the human soldier who had once vanished into the void smiled quietly, for he had found not just victory, but a home.